Welcome to the Hylee training video series. Today we're going to go over 3 exercises to improve your hands. They should make your hands independent, a little bit lighter, and have a steadier connection with your horse. Alright, so the first exercise we're going to do is going to include the crop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have riders have their reins normally. And we're actually just going to sit the crop in between their thumb and their forefinger, between the thumb and the forefinger. We're going to want them to ride around like this. And what we want to accomplish in this is to get them a little bit more with their hands out. It creates a little bit more stability. It also makes them aware if their hand comes up, falls down, or if they're pulling with one hand. So it's going to be a little bit more obvious with the crop in here. I want to keep the crop, I don't know, probably their hands about a foot apart when I do this exercise. It should also encourage them to use their other aids, their eyes first, and things like that. So I'm going to show you here in just a second with the crop and the reins. Just going to grab my reins over here. So I'm going to hold my reins normally. I'm going to add my crop on top. And generally I have the riders close their thumb to hold the rein before the thumb and their forefinger. Okay, so again to review, if we use the crop, it shows a rider when they drop their hands or when they pick one up, or if they're holding one because the crop will go this way. What I have found from my experience with this exercise is it actually helps straighten the rider as a whole. As soon as I've straightened out the hands, the shoulders tend to be straighter, they tend to look up a little bit more, and they tend to be straighter on the horse. So it's a very simple exercise, and it is just adding a simple riding crop right in here. That's how you hold it, and then you close your hands. So our next exercise is called Cris Cross, and that's effectively what we're going to do with our reins. We're actually going to cross them. And we're going to hold them like we'd hold a frying pan. So I'm almost like you're going to shake, close your hand, you'll hold the rein like this. Okay, I'm going to show you here with my reins. So I've got my reins in my hands normally, or like I would normally. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross them in front of my horse. And I'm going to hold them like a frying pan. So here's my rein. And I'm going to do the same. So I'm actually going to ride around like this, and I'm going to get my students, or me, whoever's riding, to think about what rein they're pulling. So when you want to go to the inside, obviously you're supposed to, pull the outside hand. You can see here my hands are crossed, my reins are crossed, and my hands are holding like a frying pan. You can actually do this exercise without crossing the reins, but I really like the cross reins because it really makes my students think about what rein they're pulling, or gives us an indication of what rein they're pulling without meaning to. Okay, it does require a lot of brain power and focus on where they are. You might, as a coach or as a rider, be able to find some holes in your training when you use this exercise. For example, are you holding the outside rein when you meaning to leg yield, which needs a little bit of inside rein with an inside leg to step over. So again, crossed reins, we call this exercise Cris Cross, and holding like a frying pan. Really though, the rider is actually just holding the rein between their thumb and their forefinger. It makes them a bit lighter. They do need to sit back, the riders, when they use this, because we are also trying to get them to ride more with their leg. A big problem that riders have is we ride so much on their reins, because at first they do need them to steer, and so we teach them a lot about the rein when they're first in their, first 6 months of riding, and then we try and add the leg in. Okay, so my last exercise of the 3 exercises for today is holding both reins in one hand. Now I do find it a little bit easier to hold with the inside hand as I'm riding around, but I would suggest you try riding with the weak hand. If you have one hand that is stronger or weaker than the other, to use that one to gain some strength there. So how I put that together is, I don't just have them hold like this or like this. They all want to do this because they think we're cowboys. I actually want the reins in a bridged rein like this. Now, what it will make the riders aware is if they're doing this. If they're pulling to the inside, let's say to go inside, it's actually going to pull the outside of the horse's mouth this way. So they're probably going to go to the outside as opposed to the inside. But generally the horse ends up going to the inside. That's usually what happens because the riders always want to pull your horse to the outside instead of sitting back, opening your hip angle, and then moving the leg to move the horse across out to the rail. Really makes you aware of what you're doing inadvertently. Makes you aware of how little you're riding with your leg to begin with. Because it also makes you a little lighter on the rein. So you should be able to walk, trot, and canter both directions, add a circle in with this exercise.